What's going on, family? It's your brother Lawrence here with another episode of Watch God Work. In every episode, we get the distinct pleasure to speak to brothers and sisters who are doing exceptional work in every field of human endeavor, business, healthcare, civic leadership, you name it, and they share their God stories, the ways in which God has been at work in their life and the ways in which God has been at work in their work. And today it is no different. I have my sister, our sister, Coach Gessie Thompson. What's going on, Coach Gessie?
Hey, I'm so honored and blessed. Excited about this convo.
I was saying this beforehand. This is deep for me. This is so deep because I was introduced to Coach Gessie Thompson on the Breakfast Club, and I remember her speaking about her journey through infertility, but specifically around fibroids, and for me having loved ones who have navigated that. And for me, having a distance as a man, not fully understanding the gravity of what that looks like, the way she communicated did something to me. And all I thought to myself is when she talked about foods and, about so many things that were going on with birth control. I said, this woman is speaking such truth. Protect her, Lord. Like, that's all I kept thinking. And from there on in, I've just become such an amazing just champion. There are times when I'll just see her and see her husband, Nia, and I'll just start praying and just be thankful. And so that's my introduction, but I can't introduce her better than she could introduce herself. So, Coach Gessie Thompson, who is Coach Gessie Thompson?
I am a daughter of God. I am a Jesus girl. I am so blessed and honored. See, you started me off. See, I'm just so blessed and honored to do the work that I do. I am a woman who battled fibroids for 14 years of my life. I'm one of the 90% of Black women who did so by age 50. And my fibroids actually precipitated what I call like $1 million plus journey, and included 10 years of infertility that were caused by the fibroids. 15 surgeries now. 5 of them were for fibroid removal, and then 5 of them were for complications from the fibroid surgeries. And it also caused us to have to, my husband and I, we had to do IVF 5 times, 5 IVF cycles. So that alone, for people who know the journey, that is very expensive. Emotionally, it takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on you emotionally and your mind, and because of the hormones that are raging through your body. And then also, we had a devastating miscarriage in that process. And I know that there are many sisters out there and many brothers out there who know the loss of a child, who know what that does to you. And, at 21 weeks, I have to share this, at 21 weeks, after 10 years of fighting to have this pregnancy that we were at, because our fifth cycle is where we conceived. And at 21 weeks, I remember we were in for a regular routine checkup, and the doctor said, I want you to come to my office, because I could hear, like the technician is saying to the doctor, they're whispering back and forth. And when there's whispering in an examination, some may too, right? So to the office after, and, let's talk. So my mother-in-law was with me, my sister was with me, and my husband, he had got his first executive job in a Fortune 10 company, and he was, traveling at the time. And the doctor said to me, your fibroids have returned. And I had just had a surgery at that point, less than 6 months before, a little bit around 6 months before. And that they were actually pulling away the life source from the baby. So that now what he said is that you might want to consider terminating this pregnancy, because it's going to become the word to use were a hostile environment for you. Your womb is going to become a hostile environment for you and your child, because it could take the life of your child, but also it could take your life. So at that moment, Brother Lawrence, I looked across that table and I said, no, I believe in miracles. We are miracle believing people, and we're not giving this child up. And thankfully, I told the doctor, I said, you kept yourself from being fired that day, because his response was, all right, then we'll buckle up our seatbelts and we'll go along for the ride. I said, okay. I said, as long as you understand, we're not giving up. 5 days later, we were hospitalized because now the condition had worsened. Okay. The condition had worsened. And now they said, Mrs. Thompson, we expect that you're not going to be in the hospital any more than 72 hours, because this pregnancy, usually at this point, you only have within 72 hours before there's either a necessary emergency C-section or something else happens. And I remember my husband, a man of faith, he said, no, my wife's going to be here. And he said, in fact, let me go back. The week after the doctor had said, that you might want to consider terminating pregnancy, my husband came back to me with the office the next week and he said, how long does the baby, and he thought it was a boy, so he didn't hear quite exactly from God at that. He said, how long does this little man need to stay for it to be a viable pregnancy? And the doctor said, about 30 weeks. He said, well, my little man is going to give you between 32 and 33 weeks. You watch. Now, fast forward to when we went back in the hospital, when we had been admitted, my husband said, well, she's not going anywhere, so we're just going to buckle down. They try to get, neonatal to talk to me about how there's going to be brain bleeding and necrotic gut and everything that's anticipated, because they've never seen anything but what the case histories have said, right? But let me tell you, Brother Lawrence, to the tune of 8 weeks, every day the doctor kept saying, well, baby, we have another sunrise, because baby's not going anywhere. Every rush to the delivery room, every time they thought, no, well, we made it through. It's another day. And that happened for 8 more weeks. And between 32 and 33 weeks, they finally said, you know what, Mrs. Thompson, we're going to go ahead and schedule a C-section, because it's actually more advantageous for the baby to be outside of the womb at this point, because the baby is healthy enough. And I remember a doctor saying to me, Brother Lawrence, he said, Mrs. Thompson, we have to apologize to you because we didn't want to scare you, but we've never seen this happen. We've never seen this happen before. Okay. So when we told you that we never anticipate, it wasn't to scare you. I said, well, that's because you don't know my God. And it's okay. I didn't expect you to know what I knew. I didn't expect you to know what I knew. And Brother Lawrence, on that delivery table, my heart even stopped on the operating table. All I remember is things went, and they said, we have to get the baby out right now. And they took my husband out of the room, and I woke up to find out that I had a little girl. And we knew her name was going to be Nia, because she was a child born on purpose, for purpose, with purpose. And her middle name that God had given me was Madison, because she was a warrior. So she was a purposeful warrior. And I say that, when I gave birth to Nia, it precipitated, she birthed me into my work, Brother Lawrence. Because when I tell you what my 5-10 year plan was, I didn't know God had any of this planned for me. I was a talent manager in the music business, working with gospel music artists and urban Christian. So I thought I was going to been on the Grammys carpet. I'd been doing, that's the stuff I'd been doing, right? But when I birthed her, he birthed me into this work, because Essence magazine published a profile of my story, and it went viral. And it was like, I'm not a celebrity. What? How are these people? I mean, the messages I was getting, the stories, people saying, "Oh my God, I'm going through this. Oh my God, thank you so much. I've been through 3 myomectomies. I'm in my second IVF." I mean, it was like the floodgates. Like my story gave them permission, Brother Lawrence, that it just opened up the floodgates. And I honestly did not know it was a pandemic. I thought it was just my personal hell, right? And this opened it literally propelled me to this work of becoming a fibroids and infertility activist. And here I found myself on platforms or alongside doctors, becoming an advocate. And the Lord just continued me on this journey to where He now partnered me with these. I have to say this part because I need people to understand. I was not a herb child. Okay, I I was a rib eating, oxtails eating. Okay, I need to know that when we got engaged, my husband gave me my ring. We got engaged at a Tony Roma's rib place because that's where we went. Okay, I had 10 surgeries at that time. So when you see me living this life right now, this detox living life I talk about, which is life free of toxic thoughts, toxic people, toxic habits, toxic foods, it's because I've had to live it. Okay. And I remember the day, after I had the surgery, I remember one of my surgeries, it put me into full blown menopause. And at 44 years old, Brother Lawrence, I was dealing with symptoms. I was like, I can't live like this. God, I need some help. And my GYN decided to put me on hormone replacement drugs. Now, for my sisters out there, if you just Google hormone replacement drugs and cancer, there's so many linkages to them accelerating the development of breast cancer and cervical cancer, so many things where my family was like, red alert, no, 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 you better find a natural remedy. I was like, natural remedy? What do you mean? And I remember I said, okay, Mom, because my mom's a prayer warrior. She said, listen, you may start with this estrogen patch or whatever they want to put you on to give you some, but you need to find a remedy, a natural remedy. And I said, look, Brother Lawrence, I said, all right, God, listen. All right, I'm going to get me some help right now with this medicine, but I'll find. But you know what happens when you get a little reprieve? You get a little lazy. You get a little, I'm off to the next thing, right? And I was sitting in my office one day, Brother Lawrence, and I remember God said, take it off. I just heard, take it off. And but when God is talking to you about something specific and you don't even need to ask what, because you know what He's talking about. He was talking about the estrogen patch, which was like a little Band-Aid. And I knew right away, I was like, okay. I said, okay, God, I will search for a natural. I'm ready. And within weeks, He connected me to the naturopathic doctors that I ended up partnering with. In fact, I still partner with Dr. Amun. And it literally me on this whole path of learning and understanding, because when they said that estrogen dominance was the root cause of these issues, it's the thing that you knew, but you didn't know it because nobody was confirming it, right? Because everywhere, as I was on these platforms alongside OBGYNs and all these doctors and in these advocacies, you know what they kept saying? They kept saying, well, we don't know what causes fibroids, but we know estrogen causes it to grow. We don't know what causes it, but we know that, when estrogen is lower in the body, they shrink. So I understand now is you don't want to name it because it's $1 billion business, right?
Exactly.
From the birth control pills to the multiple surgeries that happen because of the causes of whether it's fibroids or cysts or endometriosis, whatever the reproductive inflammatory issue is, to after the hysterectomy, the hormone replacement drugs and everything that's connected to that. As they like to say, the money's not in the cure, it's in the treatment, right? So when I say that, so that propelled me into this work as a nutritionist, and now, the founder of the DeToxNow.com, where I am just so blessed every day to work with women and men, families, in helping them take charge of their life to heal and prevent inflammatory conditions such as fibroids, such as high blood pressure. I apologize.
This is such a gift to brothers and sisters watching and listening, because
Mm.
people who kind of listen for some time, I love we're battering back and forth, but there are times when I just think people just need to sit and listen. I wanted you to take them
Mm.
on the journey to just listen, to say, look, she birthed the mission, right? Because I think when
Yeah.
people understand, to your point, you even got there before I did, because I said, like, so how did we get from, right,
Yeah.
the
Right.
talent manager, right, to this? But to
Right.
your point, it was that a life rooted in service, to say this was
Yeah.
something that impacted me, and then you turned your life to serve other people. Because when I see you, you couldn't tell me that you weren't a PhD in this. You couldn't tell me you weren't a doctor.
Listen.
Dr. Amoon
So
was
it's
there dropping stuff. I said, hey, man.
let me tell you, and it's crazy because you know what, you hear it in church. He'll take your test and turn it
The
into a
testimony,
testimony.
yep.
He'll take your mess and turn it into a message.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, what I saw is that, and this is the way God gave it to me, that he says, many of the plans I have for you,
Mm-hmm.
plans to prosper you, to give you a hope and a future.
Mm-hmm.
And that plan, I realized there's a book I love. It's called Faith to Live by Derek Prince. And it has been such a transformational book for me, because he talks about how every struggle in faith, it is an attempt to shake our trust in God's goodness, his wisdom, and his power. His goodness, his wisdom, and his power. And breaking that down, understand that every time, see, for me, it was this fibroids journey. And God said, look, Swift, look, my child, I want you to learn that you can understand that my desire for you, my plan for you is better than what you dream up for yourself. See, you have dream, because we see what the enemy wants us to think is that our plan is better. That God only wants to give us those vegetables that we can't stand, right? Like really, we just want all the sweet. But God is trying to tell you, but what I have for you is so sweet. You just don't understand how sweet it is, because his goodness, he's omnibenevolent. And then the shade he tries to throw in, it's the same shade that we saw in the garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
He tries to say, oh, right. No, he doesn't want you to be wise.
Like him.
You want something for you that he's trying to keep from you. That's a lie, my sister, my brother. What he has for you is so good for you. It is better than what you have for yourself. And the second lie is that his wisdom, he tries to throw shade on his wisdom. And his wisdom is that God's way to get there is the best way. Because I don't know about you, but when I draw up the plan, I say it's the quickest way from A to Z is a straight line. But wait a minute, when I look at God's way, he got me going through, like, right, I could have just got a PhD, like you said, in nutrition, right? But no, he took me through the school of life. He took me from A to K to L, F. I'm like, well, why am I going through all of these? Why does it look like it's the circuitous route? Because it's what he's making of you in the process. It is who he's qualifying you. He's making you. It's like, see, because at K over here, he taught me how to hear his voice. At F, when you thought you were going backwards, he was teaching you how to trust him when you can't trace him. How to know when I can't even see, but I know it's him, how to stay and be still and rest. Because it's not whether or not the goal is not, it's not the destination. It's who you are in the process on that journey that makes all the difference. Okay. Because what I get to do every day, my Ephesians 3:20, I realize that the only way to get to your Ephesians 3:20 is through that Jeremiah 29:11 plan. All right. Like how we get there. That exceedingly, Ephesians 3:20 says, now unto him who is able to give exceedingly, abundantly, above all you can ask, think, or imagine. Whew, that's what God has for us. That's what he has for us. And the issue is that we don't realize his ways. His ways, his WAZE are not our WAYS. Like the way he tried, the way he's mapped out.
Bars,
He's telling
y'all.
you, no,
Bars.
I'm routing you because I'm telling you, you need to get this first before you get there. Because when you get there, what's going to be required of you is to be able to rest and know me in ways that you didn't know me before. And understand that. Understand that. That's a huge deal. So when I looked at my 5-10 year plan, I had no idea that God was going to. And it's funny because my husband asked me the other day, he said, baby, do you miss being on the Grammy carpets and this and that? I was like, wow. It was like he had to remind me that was my life in the past. Like what I'm doing is so much fun right now. It is so rewarding. I can't even remember that life before. I'm like, it is so much better. Brother Lawrence, it is so much better when I get to see people's lives being healed and just playing a part in that with them. It is the better. It is beyond my imagination. It's that beyond my imagination I never knew even existed that he had for me. So I see you, let go. Let go of your preconceived notions and the plans and the things that you're trying to hold on to. Because what he has for you, he wants you to let go of the fear, let go of the unforgiveness, the ways that you're trying to protect yourself. The ways you're trying to protect yourself, let go of them and open yourself up to vulnerability and healing. Because when you do that, what he has for you, that over exceeding abundantly, it's beyond your imagination and it's worth it.
Yep.
Can I tell you about how we ended up on the Breakfast Club? Because that was just an exceedingly abundantly moment.
Talk to us. Talk to us.
Okay. So, first of all, let me be honest. Before this moment, I had heard of the Breakfast Club, but I didn't really know the impact of the Breakfast Club. Okay. And I'm Representative Congresswoman Yvette Clarke had awarded me an award called the Shining Star Award. And this was about in the 2017 timeframe. And I was supporting her at the Congressional Black Caucus, right? And she was having an event, and I said, I'm going to go there. I'm going to support her, whatever her event is, because each of the different caucuses have different events. And hers was around entrepreneurship. And she had Angela Yee was speaking. I had no idea. I just went because I was supporting her, right? And who was speaking at this event? It was wall to wall packed, right? Like there was one seat that I happened to get in the back. And I didn't really know who Angela was, other than I knew she was the host of Breakfast Club, one of the co-hosts. And I went in, I was like, oh, cool, I'm listening. And my phone goes off. Again, listen to this. My phone goes off and I didn't know. I just saw, I was expecting a call I had to take, and it was on vibrate, but I saw it flash as that I need to step out to go take this call. I stepped out, hang up. Who walks out as I hang up the call is Angela Yee. Okay. She walks out. You feel the setup. Right? She walks out, and literally, Brother Lawrence, I did not have a pitch ready. I didn't have anything. I opened my mouth, and all these ideas, the God just gave me the words. The ideas that I had just literally came out. Within a month, we were on the show. Okay. And literally, I like to say that there is a BC before Christ. Well, there was a BC before Breakfast Club in our business, because it changed, right? Yep. But I say how that moment, just hours, but maybe 30 minutes before that moment, I said, God, why do you have me here? Wherever I go somewhere, I said, God, I just want your purpose to be fulfilled. I don't need to network with every single person. Whoever you have that you need me to meet for your purpose to be fulfilled in my life, Lord, cause me to run into them. Bishop Jake says it, and I love the way he says it. He says, God knows how to have you get thirsty, so you're at the water cooler to meet the right person at the right time. I love it because it's so perfectly said. And it was just that. My phone went off, right? My phone went off. I went into that moment. I was there, not because I had a plan, but it was just because it was his plan. So Chase, the purpose giver, the best success strategy ever is your intimacy with God. Don't shortchange your time with God. Don't shortchange that intimacy, because that is literally the breeding ground for your real success.
I don't want people to miss this, uh, and they won't, because there's so many gems in everything that you said. I think, in one, the notion of intimacy, to be able to hear and respond to God, and have that
Yes.
sensitivity. That's what that means, to say, if I'm really in tune with God, if I'm really connected with
Yes.
God, then I could respond, that I could be sensitive enough in those moments when I hear, in those moments when God said, take off this patch, or put down
Right.
this
Right.
hormone. Well,
Mhm.
that requires sensitivity. That requires something. What I love, the reason why this energy and you speaking is just a reflection of God, is because I think that
Mm.
this is going to get for people to understand that there is a source. And like, I think the curious for most people who will listen to this and may not know your story, where did this start? Meaning, when did you fall in love with God in a way like this? Because I think
Oh,
when people understand your story, they can understand how your faith has been strengthened, obviously through the seasons, through
yes.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
experiences. But I think there's a hunger to understand what was the genesis of when you fell in love, where you're like, okay, God, I need God in my life, right? Clearly, this was earlier enough,
Yeah.
because given your career trajectory. But talk us through that. What was the genesis of your relationship with God?
I love that. So I had a praying mother,
Hmm.
and um, I thank my mother because she she loves God, and she taught me to love God in a way that was like he was in our family. He
Hmm.
was like, mom, dad, God, like always. Like he wasn't just somebody up there. He was a person that was so important in our life, right? So, and then there's the part where there's your mother's faith, but when does it become your faith,
Hmm.
right? And so she was always communicating faith by virtue. Okay, is something wrong? Let's talk to God about it. Let's ask him for support. Let's ask him for healing. Let's ask him. He was very much a person in our family,
Hmm.
right? And then I remember my uncle, who's deceased now, was very inspirational in my faith, where he would, he would talk to me. He was on fire for God as in his 20s, and he lived in the house. I lived with my grandparents at a point, and he would just say, "Hey, do you want to come with me to this youth group event or whatever?" And I remember that made me there was an aroma of, you know what, I want him to be my God too.
Hmm.
Wait, this God, and not just being your grandparents' God, my grandfather, a man of faith, a man of God. And so I grew up in a Christian home, right? But then I realized, I said, but God, I know that it was always taught me it's a personal relationship. You have to have your own personal relationship with God, right? That it wasn't just, about going to church or just reading your Bible, but it was about you being his daughter. And I'm so grateful that my family taught me that, because it laid the foundation for my wanting to have my own personal relationship with God. And I remember it was an Easter Sunday. I was 8 years old. And this is when they used to do invitations in the front of the church, right? Do you want to give your life? And I went up and I said, yes, I want him to be my personal Lord and Savior. And I became very hungry for a relationship with God. And I started to really study the Bible. And I used to have little Bible studies with my schoolmates. And, I was really just passionate about God. And I realized that he wasn't just somebody up there in the by and by, that he was very, very involved in my everyday, that he's very here and very present. I'm actually reading a book right now called The Divine Conspiracy, and it's
Hmm.
by Dallas Willard, and it's so
Oh,
good.
Dallas is the dude. Oh, yeah, continue. Yeah.
Talking about how when we talk about God being in the heavens, how the heavens start right here in our breathing space, right here among us, right? When Paul talked about in him I live and move and have my being, that he's right here. And it's interesting because when I talk to our sisters and sisters in the faith in the program, I say, it's like when we resting in God, God wants us to live in this place where we're not striving. We're living from a place of rest. And that is, peace is the prerequisite for real healing. Peace.
That's a word,
Peace.
y'all.
Peace comes from a place of connectedness to God. I can rest in God. I don't have to make my way prosperous because He's done it, right? He's done it, and I can just rest in Him. And the Bible says in Psalm 91, it's he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. And I've learned that secret place is not a closet somewhere. It is His presence and His word. That secret place is His presence and His word. So I can rest under that shadow that He said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So that means I'm never alone. Right? I can rest under that, knowing that He's right here. He says, I'm right here with you. So I can tell you there was a time I remember when I was in the hospital, and I remember very, very clearly one day when I went, in my recovery, it seemed like I was taking a step backwards and I had to get put on the NG tube. And I remember saying, God, I know you haven't left me. I know you are with me. And I remember saying, my godmother was with me, the same godmother who prayed for me when I was trying to decide whether or not to do my 5th IVF cycle. And we walked around the floor, the hall of the hospital 7 times, like the wall of Jericho, right? I walked around and I kept saying and I couldn't even speak because the tube was so painful in my throat. I couldn't even speak it out loud, but in my heart I said, God, you have exalted your word above your name. And I speak your word over my body, which is by your stripes I am healed. And I speak to my body and I command you, body, to come into alignment with what God has said, that you are healed. You are healed because God's word said, and He exalts His word above His name. And I say to you, body, you have to come into alignment with what God says. And I remember as I went back into my room, I remember that I felt that moment where my body came and it quickened and my body came into alignment. And I said, God, I know you in a way now because of that experience where it feels like there's nobody else and it's just me and you. And I know you hear my prayers and I know your word is true. And I know it to be true. And He's pointed that out, whether it was over and over. So yes, my faith was strengthened in my journey, but over my time, I knew that He's real. And I knew because of that foundation. And as I developed my own relationship with Him, every moment in my life, whether it was, even when it was time for, we were dealing with this infertility thing, I felt like, when we came up to that 4th IVF cycle, we'd had the miscarriage and then now we had another 4th, it was a failed IVF cycle. And I was just like, you hit that wall. I hit a wall for the Lawrence, right? And I was like, God, I want to adopt. I don't want to have another surgery. I don't want to be in the hospital another 20-something days. I was like, Lord, I hear you saying adopt. When you try to put God's mouth. and I believe in adoption. Adoption is amazing. I mean, look, if not for adoption, we wouldn't be in the body, right? Because we are adopted.
Exactly.
but as I said, when you have an agenda with God, like you're not really trying to be led. You're trying to lead God. And I knew my motivations weren't pure. I knew I was like, God, I remember this word, and I remember that I said, okay, God, I give up holding on to my agenda. Please lead me, because I know that I'm yours. I was bought with a price, and I want my life to honor you. Because that's what life is about, honoring you. Manifesting your glory, being an expression of your love on this earth. That is what life is about. Being an expression of your love, a tangible expression of your love on this earth, for your love to be made known. That is what I'm here for. I said, I give up, Lord, your ways, your will, not my will. And I remember when I did that, it was very shortly after that my mother, my godmother, called me and said, I've been praying for you. I was praying for you. And she didn't even know I was going through this. Should I do another 5th IVF cycle? She didn't know this because we weren't talking about it. I was trying to keep it close to the vest. She said, I was at a prayer meeting and they were praying for people who were trying to have a baby. And I felt, I went and I stood up in the gap for you. And God said, this time next year, you will have your baby. And it was in December. And she didn't know that if I did this next IVF cycle, the baby would be due around November. So I would have my baby. So that was the first thing. And I said, okay, God. And then I remember the morning God just impressed it in my heart. And I didn't hear an audible voice. Because let me tell you, most of the time when God is leading me, I just feel impressed to do something. You know, just like sometimes I'll hear, take it off. That was a, right? Yep. But it's like, wake up. I felt the need, call your sister Denise. She's my spiritual sister, call her. Okay. I called her and I just started talking to her about it. And as I was talking to her, God just boom, 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 the lights went off and he showed me how he had prepared the way, how the myomectomy I'd had months before, going into the OR, the doctor told me, you may have a hysterectomy when you wake up because it's a really bad situation. I cannot promise that I can save your uterus. And I remember as I was going in, I said, well, if God needs it, it'll be here. I was like, if he needs it for his plan for my life, it'll be here. I'm not going to worry about it. Right? And the third confirmation was, for the first time, my husband's job covered the IVF. I was like, okay. And it was like once the lights went off, I knew. But I thought that was it. There would be no more struggle. But I realized that the reason he said you will be holding your baby a year from now at that prayer meeting, right? That was the word that kept me through every struggle after. I said, healthy baby, healthy mommy. I am going to be holding my baby in that prayer meeting. Because there was health issues for me, health issues for the baby, many times, right? But that word, I kept it before me. Healthy baby, healthy mommy. I am going to be holding my baby a year from now. I kept that word before me. I kept it before me. Because he says, he that dwells in the secret place of the Most High. That secret place is his word and his presence. When you don't know what to do, remember the last thing he told you. Remember. Sometimes it's just you're reading a scripture and you hear that scripture and it jumps out at you, right? You hear that and somewhere else, you turn around, somebody else says that scripture. But God is saying something to you. Take cover in that scripture. Take refuge in that word because he is making it flesh in your life. He's adding flesh to that scripture. He's the word being made flesh in your life is that word because he is adding it to your character. He's adding it to your character. And it's interesting because learning how to rest in God, I didn't understand that God was teaching me that was going to be a critical part to help all these people heal. Because stress is an upregulator that multiplies the impact of any kind of condition in your body. All right? I learned that afterwards. When I look back at my year in 2014, I had a very, very stressful year. Positive things and negative things happening. That year, Brother Lawrence, my fibroids tripled in size. Right? When I talk to these sisters and we're doing a consult and we're going through their case and they tell me this year, all of a sudden, they grew. And I say, well, let's take back what was going on in your life. Many times it's because they had a divorce or they went through something on their job. And there were girls there were women who, I remember a case recently, she said, I always had a terrible cycle where it was my bleeding was so bad, always, and very cramping. I said, well, let's talk about your childhood. What happened to you in childhood? And it turns out she had been molested. Your body is telling you things. And we think it's past, it's in the past, but Many times we've pushed it and we say, I remember in that conversation we talked about, she was like, I said I was going to survive in spite of it. Yes, but did you ever grieve it? Did you ever heal from it? Did you ever take time to allow yourself to process it, to heal from it? Or did you feel like you had to push past it to survive? So many sisters are compartmentalized, have compartmentalized to survive. And you're A, like you are typical A, meaning you are the higher, you accomplish high things. You're the achievers. You are the type A's. But there's so much brokenness, and it manifests in your body. It manifests in your health. And God is saying, I want to take you back to that point, and I want to heal you where you're really broken. And God had to take me to the places where I had abuse. I had a father he had been through a lot growing up, and he was spiritually and emotionally abusive. And it hurt me and it broke me in ways that I didn't even understand. And I had to receive healing in those areas so that I could learn that I'm enough just because God loves me. I don't have to earn that. That was a message I got growing up. I had to be perfect. I had to earn love. It was conditional. I love you if. But God says, I love you just because I made you. And that's the only thing that you need to be qualified, to be worthy of love. It's just because I made you. Because you're mine. Because you're mine. And I want that to liberate you today, sister, that you are worthy of love, not because you get it right, not because you're perfect, not because you do anything to make you enough. And especially my sisters of color, the world tells you you're not enough. You have to be 10 times as good. You have to be 5 times as good. You have to prove you belong at the table. And that causes so many inflammatory conditions in our lives. That's why Black women are disproportionately affected by these issues. But I want you to know that you are enough just because He made you. You don't have to prove it. And we have to start to say, wait a minute, I'm going to stop this proving I'm enough. I'm enough just because I am. Just because I am. And we need to make sure we surround ourselves with a tribe of people who support that, right? Who support that. And that's why we have to be radical about our self-care. We have to be radical about it because that self-care is in alignment with our worship. That self-care is saying, I'm treasuring who God made me to be. I'm treasuring works of your hands, God, because I treasure you, the one who made me.
This is so special because I always say anytime I have these conversations, I always say that I always get, it's a direct ministering. I'm having a conversation, but it's I'm listening to a ministering happening, like God speaking through the brother and sister that is here. But this is so special in that you are talking about self-care. You are talking about the journey you've been on, but you're wrapping it within God's purposes in the world for your life and for somebody who may hear this. And when I started at the beginning of the conversation, I talked about how I said, Lord, protect her. Like my first thing when I saw it was, Lord, protect her. And the reason why I said it is because the world isn't the way it ought to be. And I think about
so falling a little bit.
Exactly. I mean, and I think about how many, not even just the forces, not even just the inconvenient truth of the things that you're saying, right? Because think about this, so much of our industry relies upon sisters carrying the load, and it's actually celebrated, right? And I said that we're not meant for. That's why the body's breaking down. Cortisol driven up. Fibroids. It's not a correlation. There's a reason why our sisters are breaking down.
Yes.
And I think particularly as brothers hearing this, you have to understand. And so I say this to say, it takes a unique type of faith just to be able to receive this message and then to have enough courage to walk it out to help people. But two, you're not necessarily just walking it out without resistance. And so how do you navigate through God? Because there are people who come to you, right? Meaning they've already self-filtered. God has sent them to you, but you're also speaking into spaces, industries where, again, this is the economic driver, right, of this, whether it's the foods, whether it's the drugs that actually turn off your body's ability to signal you to the fact that this happened. So how do you navigate the resistance with God when you come across women and men who are like, this is a whole bunch of jive and this is not responsible, and people need to use medication. It's always like, I know, I get that, but people kind of need, and you're like, no. So how do you navigate that, and with discernment, but also with God's direction, especially because I know you have a lot of resistance.
I love that you spoke that. I love it. And the key thing I say, and I remember, is that, I'm not for everybody. That I don't expect you to answer a doorbell if it didn't ring for you, right? So I only concern myself with those who God is speaking to, right? Meaning whoever. Maybe for you it's funny, I spoke to a sister today and she's like, I learned about you through something, whatever she called it, and she said, and I knew it was for me, right? And so my thing is, I'm like the seed sower, right? It's not my job to cause the seed to grow. Only God does that.
Yo, that's a word
my
for somebody.
My job is to cast the seed, is to plant it, is to plant the seed. So I respect that and I honor the fact that that's not my job, because I don't carry that burden. And I love it. I say to my people, I said, remember, you're not the source, you're the vessel. Don't get duped in trying to be the source, because it'll crush you. You weren't made to be the source. You are made to be the vessel. So when I remember that, wherever I go, you send me, God. And I always pray, God, open my mouth and speak through me. Like I was like, who, last night I spoke to them, whatever they need to hear, Lord, use me to say it. I surrender to you. I receive, because I say, Lord, I'm just the vessel. So I also don't carry that burden for the outcome, right? Because he said, some plant, some sow, some water, but God gives the increase. He gives the increase. So I'm not responsible for the increase. And when I don't tie that, I don't carry that burden of having to produce the increase. And he says, ask, seek, knock, right? Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door shall be open. I do my part. I say, God, and by his grace, I don't even do my part without his grace. Let's be clear, right? Because I need his grace for that. I'm like, so just give me your grace, God, to ask promptly. So I'll do my homework. I'll do the reading. I'll listen, whatever it is, read up whatever it is I need to do. And, and give me the words to say, the favor that's needed, whatever it is. And then I know that those who may not, I don't need to find myself in a back and forth defending anything. Because the truth is, when it's your turn and you need to know that, you'll come back around. Or you'll hear it from someone else, because that's the other thing. It's an abundance. It takes a village. It doesn't just take me. It takes a village of a healing revolution. It's going to take a village. It takes all of us, iron sharpening iron, doing this work, what you're doing, right? You're going to be planting. What you're doing is softening the soil. It's helping people to open up their hearts, right? And when I know that, because, it's a paradigm in Matthew, and it's very fundamental to just our coaching program and the way we approach things, which is he says, come you who are weary and heavy laden. He says, come, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. He said, then you will have rest for your soul. Okay, because that's what we're all looking for. We're all looking for soul rest, right? You ever go to sleep, wake up, and you're still tired because you ain't got soul rest. You need that soul rest, that rest inside your spirit, your mind, your will, your emotions. And the way that happens is by resting in God. So this is the pattern. Now, the world around us has taught us you got to grind, 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 right? Hustle, hustle, hustle until you die. And that paradigm, and in that paradigm, go back to that yoke. When you look at the agricultural system, when you had a yoke, usually the yoke is what is around the ox's neck, right? And the ox is pulling the cart because the yoke connects the ox to the cart, right? So in our paradigm and in the world's paradigm, we are the ox. Okay? We are the ox and we're pulling the cart and we are toiling and we are striving and we are burning ourselves out and we are grinding and we're grinding harder and everything is imploding in the process. Right? But he said, wait a minute, take my yoke upon you. My yoke is easy. Because his way is different from our way, right? His way is that the yoke is on him and we are in the cart. We're the passengers in the cart. And he is the one that is directing the cart. He is the one pulling the cart. How much easier is it to be the passenger than to be the ox, right? He said, well, it's not yours. It's mine. I got you. You rest. You sit in that cart and let me lead and guide you. How much of a paradigm shift is that, right? When we say, I rest in you. I surrender. I see you. I'm speaking to y'all, my control addicts. And the only reason is afraid. You're afraid of things happening that are outside of your control. You're afraid. Inside, the control is really connected to fear. And let me tell you something. The best thing you can do is open your hands and say, God, your ways are higher than my ways. I let go. I let go and I trust you and I release. Your ways. That means so let me show you how that plays out, right? That means my schedule shifts because something's going on. Okay, God, that just means that you want to happen differently. I'm not like, oh my God, I got to make this happen. No, because I'm connected to a bigger picture, his plan for me. So I can rest. I can rest and know that at the appointed time, that's when it's going to happen. At the appointed time, that's when it's going to take place. Because I'm not the one making my way prosperous. He said, I will make your way prosperous. Just be a vessel. Just seek ye first the King. You do that. That's your job. That's my job. Seek the King and his dominion in your life, his reign, his rule over your affections, over your thoughts, over your passions. Love what he loves, right? Be about him. And when you do that, everything else, it's not, and I want to be clear because some people think that means you're being super spiritual. No, because my greatest ideas come in when I take time and I say, God, help me to focus on what's most important in my life, in your plan for my life today. And then maybe I'm going to write something, I'm going to work on it. God, I thank you for your grace right now. Lead me and guide me. And as I surrender, I am tapping into my ace. Come on now. Literally, the God of the universe, who knows all things, who is omniscient, who is omnipresent, is right here with me, waiting to lead me through every single process of my life. But if I don't tune in, if I resist because I want to be in control, I'm the one who's getting shortchanged. But he says, no, come unto me. Dad Miles used to say, Dr. Monroe, Dad Miles, he said, it's the key to fulfillment because you do it for free. Like, this ain't work. This is work. Come on, Brother Lawrence. This is work for me. This is a work day. Really? That I get to do this as part of my work? Really? Seriously? This is just fun.
Yo, this man. But I have to ask this. We have to get this because you alluded to this a bit, but just what does your rhythm? Because I want sisters and brothers to get on that TikToks now, get to the website, get in the plan. We're gonna get clear on that,
Please.
right? But what does your rhythm, your daily rhythm, look like, right? Because I think to your point, obviously it's holistic, right? Your rhythm with God. But what does your rhythm with God look like? How do you actually structure your days, or at least allow yourself to just say, okay, how do you manage that? What does that look like practically?
Question. I love it. So my time in the morning is very sacred. Okay. So I was saying one of the things I do is I make sure I don't schedule any meetings before 11 o'clock. Right. Because I have to have time to just spend time with God, just to be with him and to hear, like one of my prayers every morning is, God, Father, show me what is most important today. Let me do those things that are most important for your purpose to be fulfilled in my life. Because I'm the queen of to-do lists. I could have a million things, but I understand that all of that is surrendered to what is most important, because I know the Pareto principle says that 80% of the impact is going to be on the 20%. That 20 most critical percent is going to have the 80% impact. So I'm not trying to do all the things. I'm trying to focus on what is most important, right? So, and that's so important for me because it also sets my tone in whether it's spending some time with my husband, to also making sure I take time to do some walking, like some exercise in the morning, and take my supplements in the morning. And why? Because I want to make sure I'm cultivating a life and a day that says that I embrace my limits and that it's not everything that matters. It's what is most important to God that matters for that day, right? And if every day, it works every day. You see what I'm saying? Like tomorrow, what is most important for tomorrow? And what I do is I release this need that everything is urgent, because everything is not urgent, right? I process everything from, okay, Lord, what is urgent to you? And as I think through, I will be, okay, this needs to happen today. Okay, and because we live from this environment that everything has to be done. It's not true. It's not. Because guess what you're going to find out? That thing that you prioritize, I know we've been here, where you spent all this time, something, and then tomorrow it was null and void, right? You did all of this. You put all this energy into it. But the reason God was not prioritizing this is because he knew it was going to go away tomorrow. So when we surrender that way, and it's not just the morning. I do that in the morning to make sure I set my posture. So throughout the day, I'm like, I wear things and people loosely, meaning it's like, God, you lead and you ordain my steps. So if this shifts, I'm okay. If this shifts, I'm okay, right? Let me be present for this, whatever. And it's very much a way of living, because I'm not trying to strive and make my way prosperous, right? I just want faithful. And I love my husband's definition of faithfulness. I have to share this with you guys, because we do Sundays. Since quarantine, we do service at home, just our family. We have worship service. And he's been teaching on dominion. And the way he taught faithfulness is discipline plus consistency over time until it's easy. And it was so good because it made sense. Like faithfulness means, when we looked at the parable, when he said the one who gave the 10, he gave the 5, and then we came back and he said, oh, you came back and you multiplied it by 10. He said, I will give you authority over these. And he said, authority comes from faithfulness, right? He says, you were faithful over this, I will give you dominion over this, right? You want dominion. You want dominion. Dominion looks like you are killing it in the game of whatever your industry is. You want dominion. Be faithful. Be faithful. And that faithfulness could be related to your industry. It could be related to just being faithful in your hunger for God. It could be because as he does that, he works on your heart, and he leads and he guides you by making you more inclined to something and shaping your heart around something. And as we do these things, as we are faithful, meaning daily, spending that time. And over time, it becomes easy. Like stillness was something I had to develop a muscle around, stillness. Because our faith has been a lot about praying and it's talking to God and it's da-da-da-da. And God's saying, no, no, no. Now I want you to develop. And this is a really great resource around this is the Emotionally Healthy Spirituality book by Pete Scazzaro.
Yes.
And devotional that comes with it. I use that devotional in our coaching groups. So powerful because it's a tool that is used to help really increase your awareness and responsiveness to God, right? That throughout the day, I turn to you and I receive, because we do a lot of dumping before God, but we don't do a lot of stop, be quiet, and receive God's healing, receive his grace, receive wisdom. And that requires, if we pause and we get still, there's so many things that would be different in our lives if we did that before we made a decision. If we did that before we decided what we were going to do for the day, or we had an interaction with someone, if we just got still. Maybe I call it the stop, breathe, and exhale. Every 2 hours or so, check in with yourself. Set an alarm on your phone or your watch where you just stop and you check in with yourself and you just cast your care before and receive his grace. Make that exchange. Exchange your stress for his rest. Because there are a lot of times we're carrying things and we don't even, you ever realize you're in the middle of doing something and you're gritting your teeth? Or, your shoulders are like this and you didn't realize something was going on. What was going on is you were actually picking up cares. You're picking up cares.
Literally.
And it said, cast your cares. Cast them.
He cares.
Cast them. Yeah. And then you get to the point where, man, you become a professional. Nah, I ain't taking that. It ain't for me. Yeah. Nah, it's all right. It didn't happen. It's okay. It's like my daughter's an actress, right? And she's going to be on Queen Latifah's The Equalizer this Sunday. It's her debut TV performance. So I'm not sure when
shout.
She's on it's episode number 5. This is the 5th episode. And she does a lot of auditions, right? And she's the one who told us this is her purpose. She said, at 5 years old, she told us, Mommy and Daddy, I'm supposed to be on the stage. Like, I'm supposed to be. She was very clear. And we were like, well, maybe she just, likes to be the center of attention. So we'll watch it and see. And she was sharpening and working on her skills. And she kept saying, listen, I'm supposed to be in my first thing by the time I'm 7 or 8. And she was prophetic, like speaking. I was like, I guess I got to get this child an agent. I was like, okay, I remember. And I remember the Lord saying, submit her photos tonight. I was like, okay. Next thing, within that next week, she had an agent. And sure enough, I say to her, baby, listen, you don't control whether or not you get the role. That's what we teach her. Your job is to be faithful with every opportunity the Lord gives you. And that faithfulness means you give him your best. Right? You give him your best. And it may be that role is for you, or it may be that role is for someone else, right? But in that, whatever he does, he may be planting the seed just for you to sharpen your gift, or for the person who's there, a casting director, to think about you for the project that you're supposed to be in. But just know that every moment God is setting you up for his blessings. Every moment he's setting you up. So honor it by giving it your very best. Not perfection, just giving it your very best. Be faithful. And that's what I try to do every day. God, I just want to be faithful with what you've given me. I just want to be faithful, not try to manipulate the outcomes and all of that, because I trust him with the outcomes, because he's got that. He's shown me he's got that. And I just need to, by his grace, be faithful with what he's given me. And know that as he does that, he will cause that Ephesians 3:20 blessing to manifest. Right? So the rhythm is, I don't have to have it figured out. I don't have to have it all. All I need to do is be faithful and prioritize the most important relationship in my life. Let my relationship with God literally guide me through everything else. Let it filter. Let it be the filter through which I live. Let it be the filter that affects my what I value, who I spend time with, how I spend time, right? Because, one of the things I say, detox living is about life free of toxic thoughts, toxic people, toxic habits, toxic foods, because we have toxic thoughts that we've allowed to, like that's too expensive. It's too expensive to eat organic foods, or that takes too much time. Really? Is your health not worth you taking the extra time? Right? And don't say it's too expensive, because I know for us, we have free things on our website. Like, we have literally a page, thedetoxnow.com/free stuff. Okay? Like, for real. Let's just hit it up. You want to start somewhere? Start with that. You feel like, that's my budget is free, start there. And then we have opportunities to serve you through many different levels. But the key is, are you going to be faithful with the truth he reveals to you? Right? Faithful with that. And that means every day for me, it's, God, give me the grace for today. I'm not worried about tomorrow, because tomorrow will be today when I get there, right? So every day my prayer is, give me the grace for today. I receive, and I got to stop to receive that grace moment by moment throughout the day, right? Receive it throughout the day, because every moment, my sister says it, Coach Felicia, she says, she wrote a book called Thrive, 7 Strategies for Extraordinary Living. And she said, every moment is pregnant with a miracle. Every moment. So you messed up, ate something you shouldn't, the next moment is a miracle for you. You can do it in the next moment. It's okay. Your whole life is not condemned to be, your whole diet is not condemned because you ate something bad. And it's a journey. It's a continuum. Every day, just try to surrender more. I know you feel like this. You may not trust. You're afraid. God just says, even come and say to me, I'm afraid, God. He knows how to handle that. He's got you. I promise. The greatest thing you could ever do is to surrender to yourself. Surrender yourself to the most loving and amazing God, who has amazing things planned for you. He does.
I think there was a more fitting way for us to even capture not only the question around rhythm, but I think just the spirit of this entire conversation. Coach Gessie, I thank God for you. I think on behalf of brothers and sisters, I thank God for you choosing every day to fight, to get up, recognizing that you are the recipient of God's choice he's already made, and each day to have you. In each moment when you could have given up, in each moment when it could have just been, you know what, let's just make this decision. I don't want people to miss the fact that this is, I think, our greatest picture of love is Jesus. But he went all the way. He was is the ultimate hero. But I think when we see stories that really wrap us, they're shadows. They're shadows of Jesus. And you're the shadow of Jesus. Because in the face of life, in the face of death, even when that risk was present, you still had a vision and you held on. And I thank you each day you held on to this vision to serve, this vision to stir people up, that they would ultimately reclaim the bodies that God has given them so that they could be who God has called them to be with full joy.
But I didn't know that I was going to help other people. That's the thing, though. All I knew is I just wanted to honor God. And I want you to be clear. Like, sometimes you may not know what. I didn't know he was going to do all this. I was like, what?
Yep.
I was writing talking points.
He did.
Right? But he turned it around. And I just kept saying, God, be it unto me. Like Mary did, just be it unto me, God. Like, be it unto me. Whatever you say, I just want to honor you. I just want to honor you. And if that's what this means. And then he just kept just loving on me and loving on me and loving on me and showing me that, all of that I went through was, I remember one day I said, God, well, where was this when I needed it? Right? He said, but you see, your story, he said, the horror of your story is what connected you to all these people that you're helping now. And I said, amen. I was like, well, if that's what it took, God. I remember in my most recent health trial, I had an aneurysm, and the aneurysm came from complications from the surgeries that I had, the fibroid surgeries, the long-term health condition I have because of those complications. And I remember one night, and I was in the hospital, and the Lord just visited me in a way that was just so special. And I said, God, if that's what it took for me to have this time with you, I'd do it again. I'd do it again. Because it's in that fire, in that fire. Think about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and how he showed himself up in that fire with them. That they said, even if we have to burn, we're not going to bow because that's who we serve. And he showed himself right in that fire that he was never going to leave them nor forsake them. Because see, life is made of mountaintops and valleys. It's made about, that's what it is. It's going to be, whether you're at a mountaintop right now, there's going to be a valley, and then you're going to have another mountaintop. But you know what happens in the valley? In the valley, it's dark. It's dark. We can't see. We feel all alone. But in that valley, God said, I want you to see with your eyes of faith in the valley. I want you to see the mountaintop because you know I'm taking you there. I want you to see with the eyes that tell you you are not alone because I'm with you because I said it. I want you to see with your faith because that's how you're going to get to the next mountaintop. So I remember the morning I went into the hospital. That morning I had a headache with the aneurysm. I had a headache that was so insane. I couldn't ignore it. And I had an interview that morning, Brother Lawrence, on Erica Campbell from Mary, her show, Get Up Mornings. And so it was, international, national radio. I was like, God, you have to be with me. A sister called and prayed with me. I mean, my head was like literally somebody was stabbing me. It was just terrible. But when I woke up that morning, and I said, God, this pain, God. And he said, I heard the word aneurysm. And I knew at that moment that he had provided for me and he had provided for my healing and I was going to be okay. So it took me through everything that I went through. I knew that because he said to me, he told me what it was, that when they said the words aneurysm, when they confirmed it after the test in the hospital that day, I didn't know how I was going to make it, but I knew I was going to make it. And I knew it because he provided for me. And he said, you're not alone. I am with you. And I'm going to show you, no matter where you go, I am with you and I have your back and I have you come. And I went through, I faced terrible medical bias in the hospital. And God just strong up in me. It's like at the end of it, like the neurosurgeon tried to send me home with blood pressure that was through the roof, pain that was level 20 pain, which the blood pressure being high like that can cause the aneurysm to rupture. Okay. Like before they told me, they put me on a heart monitor. They put me on before they told me about the aneurysm. They said, Mrs. Thompson, we have to talk to you, but we have to just, hook you up. My blood pressure went up to 197 when they told me. Okay. And they said, you have to calm down because it can cause it to rupture. You have to calm down. So here he's telling me I can fit you onto my calendar 8 days from now. I'm like, if I was Becky, what would you be doing? Right? You're trying to send me home. I said, well, no. I said, I tell you what, I'll go home. Thank God. Because of my background as a nutritionist and as a health coach, I knew I wasn't going nowhere. I said, no, because if I go home, I knew the play the tape forward. My blood pressure is uncontrollable because this pain is uncontrollable. It's only going to cause this to rupture, and I will not be in any way, shape, or form where I can get help immediately. Right? I said, when you get the pain under control, I'll go home. So days pass. They can do nothing. Nothing is getting this pain. I'm on level 20 pain all day, every day. And they're proceeding to come to me, Mrs. Thompson, in order for insurance to cover it, you have to check in by a certain time. So when are you going to get home? You have to check in by a certain number of days beforehand so you can get called. I said, well, I'm not going anywhere. I have to have I'm fighting with these doctors. Okay. And I'm saying to them, I'm not going anywhere. Right? Because they've had to come and give me IV intervention, blood pressure medicine via IV to get the pressure down. What would have happened if I was home? Several times they had to do this. Fast forward to after the surgery. The first thing that he says to my husband, we made the right call. The aneurysm was nasty and bloody, which means it was ready to rupture. And the word that God had given me through all the prayer warriors were that he was keeping that thing from rupturing and I was going to be okay. It was nothing but God that held it together. Nothing but, because that pain, nothing they did. They had me on blood pressure meds that were crazy, the levels they had, in order to keep my pressure down. And that more I knew. He said, new level, new devil. I knew that things, and it's funny because I spoke to Angela Yee while I was in the hospital, and she said to me, because where the aneurysm was on my language. So he was trying to take my ability to speak away. I said, that's what I do. Right? And when I was telling her, she says, oh no. She says, no, because we got to do a podcast. I was like, huh? I said, okay, I'm going to recover. And then she told me later on, afterwards, I was like, oh, see, things about to get crazy right now. And you just wanted me to be equipped so that new level, new devil, I'm at a whole different place. Understand? And I want you to know that he said to me, because this recovery has been crazy, Brother Lawrence. This recovery has been the hardest recovery I have had. And he said to me, because he gave my same godmother this dream. And this dream was that morning that I went to the hospital. That morning, she had a dream that I was crying. And I was crying. And her name is Yannick, and it means gift from God, right? And she came to me. She says, what's wrong? And I said, I was just inconsolable. And then her son appears into the room, right? Her son's name is Emmanuel. Now, Emmanuel, which means God with us, right? He says, oh, this is what she needs. He just picked something up off the floor and gave it to me, and I was whole. And that dream, she knew right away. So when she found out I had an aneurysm, she didn't worry. She says, oh no, God already showed me she's going to be fine. Everything is taken care of, no deficits. And that was the word that kept me every day as I'm feeling this long-term recovery. No deficits, God. You said no deficits. That means everything that I need is going to be restored. No deficits. My creatinine was going crazy because of all, and that's kidney. I've been diagnosed with, I have kidney disease, a genetic kidney disease in my family from my father's side. And my kidneys have been great functioning, perfect all this time. Like, I didn't know when God called me to this lifestyle that he was saving me in ways I didn't even know, right? Like these inflammatory foods, what they would have done to my kidneys. I have cousins, one younger than me that just had a transplant last year, kidney transplant, one a little older than me. From another uncle, he had a kidney transplant last year. Here I was with 100% kidney function. The disease is present, meaning the cysts are all over my kidneys and my liver. 100% function. After this health crisis, my creatinine, which is a measurement of your kidney function, was going crazy. But God kept reminding me, no deficits. No deficits. And he reminded me about our supplement called MAST that attacks fibroids and cysts and tumors and growths. And I just started taking it about a month ago, right? Because I had forgotten because now I was taking stuff for neurological and all these other things that now became issues because I had brain surgery, right? And I remember Dr. Amun, I was like, oh my goodness. We have a supplement, of course, that works because women who have fibroids and cysts and scar tissue, they take it. I said, I need to take it because of the cysts on my kidneys and my liver. I just got my blood work back last week. My creatinine, and I said, God, if this was the answer, my creatinine will go from a 1.5 something to like a 1.3 something. No lie. My blood work last week showed my creatinine went from 1.58 to 1.39.
Praise.
To God.
Praise God, yo. Praise. Fam,
So the thing is, this is, it is absolutely a walk of faith, but then there's stuff I say to people, but we have to add works to our faith. Let's talk about the health piece for a second. We have to add works to our faith. That means we have to stop being the accomplice in the story of our disease and start being the hero in the story of our healing. We have to cooperate with the process that God put in place for our healing, right? Cooperate with the process. That means let go of the things that are stressing us. That means distance and cut off those people who are toxic, right? That means also stop filling our bodies with toxic foods. Our food is our medicine, right? He said, take the herbs and the leaves they are for your healing. It's in the Bible, right? In the garden, before sin, before the fall, before everything, he said, eat of these fruits and the fruits of the trees. That's what he said for us to eat, right? The fruits and the vegetables. So it's no surprise that animals have hormones that are inflammatory for us when we eat them, right? But when we eat foods that are wild-grown, organic foods, wild-grown, and it doesn't have to have the organic label. It can be organically grown without the organic label, right? You can test it by yourself at home. You can cut a piece, put it in a mason jar for 72 hours. If it grows fuzz all over it, then it means it's got pesticides on it. If it doesn't, it's organically grown, okay? And these foods are healing. They will be healing to your body, right? And that's why we have a free food list. If you don't do anything else, download our free food list at thedetoxnow.com on the free stuff page. You going through something, you need help, we have free group consults every Monday. Every Monday, we have private consults you can book. We're here to support you, to be a tribe, to be part of your support system. There's no reason for you to like there are people who are medicine who, for life, they say, for life. And the truth is, it's only making you sick in other ways. And there are medicines that are needed to intervene, for emergency reasons. And I want you to know, I'm not a person who's anti-medicine, anti-pharmaceutical, all that, because there are things that are needed for a crisis, but you don't want to live a crisis, okay? You don't want to live in a crisis. You want to live in the process of healing and health. And that's what we're here to support you to do. Whether it's helping you to reset your body through one of our detoxes or our balance program for women who are dealing with reproductive issues, I can tell you it's not going to be just by virtue of taking supplements. It's going to be, and you hear that from us, by changing what you eat. It's a lifestyle changing, by changing the thoughts and the habits that you have, because it's lifestyle that gets us here, and it's lifestyle that's going to get us out.
Y'all, this, if you didn't catch the Detox Now, I'm going to have my sister tell how they could find you, but also to find the treasure trove. I've had the Detox Now bookmarked on my joint for years, but so please, so please, tell them how they can find you.
Yes, www. I say that because some people still need the www. thedetoxnow.com. Don't go over to detoxnow.com without the in front of it, because that's not us.
That's going to be something else.
It's thedetoxnow.com. All right. And like I said, we have free food lists, free consults. We have literally a page under the products. There's a page that's just called free stuff, the detoxnow.com/free stuff. Because I want you to start somewhere, and understand, I'm Coach Gessie on Instagram. I'm very responsive. I don't too much be around Facebook. Check it out. I don't too much,
Yo, it's a whole other planet, yo.
Don't really hang with me on Facebook, but you hang with me on Instagram. So that's where I am. And the key thing is you want to surround yourself with people who are going to support your healing and health. All right. So make this decision. We have a free detox called the Detox Living Challenge. It's changing your morning routine for 21 days with ginger tea, some affirmations, and a smoothie or protein bowl. The recipe is all in our free ebook on the free page. And what we're trying to get you to do, to help you do, is to become your best advocate, to become radical about your self-care and say, I am worthy. And you're worthy because God made you worthy, baby. He made you worthy. So you've got to treat yourself like that fearfully, wonderfully made creature that you are.
Amen, amen, amen. Coach Gessie, you are a gift to the universe. You are a gift to God's universe. Thank you so much for blessing. And as I said, this will not be the only conversation we have, but I hope that people have been encouraged. And I also want people to play this back and listen to it again. Because I think she's given a wealth of information. But again, this will not be our last conversation in faith. Coach Gessie, God bless you. Love you, sis.
God bless you too.
Sis.
God bless you too. Appreciate you, brother.